Hi guys, welcome to the Client Experience Podcast. I'm your host, Riah Gonzalez, and I am here on episode 4 with Erin Keam of The Happy Wardrobe to discuss authenticity. And the title today is The Signature Statement is You. Erin is the very perfect person to discuss that. So Erin, thank you and welcome to our podcast.
I am so happy to be here.
Erin, tell us a little bit about, I know that you've been in the industry for a really long time and you're only 21. So I love that you've had so much experience into such a short period of time. But I know that you've had a career that spanned communications, advertising, marketing, teaching, you name it. You've really had such a widespread career in working with people and in self-development and recovery. And tell me how you landed on image consulting, because you do styling, but really what you do is so much more than that. So I would love to hear your story.
Thank you. I have been called by clients their wardrobe therapist.
I would concur with that.
So what happened was that I do have a background in marketing, branding, sales, and promotions. And I've also spent 20 years volunteering in the self-help, personal development, and recovery field. And as you said, I've had some wonderful career opportunities. I've lived overseas, and in one of my occupations was as a realtor. What I loved about being a realtor was hearing people's stories, and I loved exploring their home. Because I found that as I walked around their home, I could tell so much about them from their possessions. All their possessions told a story and gave me great insight to who they were. This all combined with the fact that I absolutely love clothing. I always have, and I've always unofficially given feedback and support and advice to women in my life, all my life. Well, what happened was my friend Natalie called me. She was overwhelmed with her clothing. She was in that classic position of standing in front of her wardrobe and going, I just don't know what to wear. In her case, her wardrobe was filled completely to the brim. She had a mother who very generously had donated her entire wardrobe to her, and Natalie felt that she couldn't say no to that request. It felt very difficult for her to do that, but she was drowning. Her mother had retired and basically had a corporate life and had gifted Natalie with all these clothes, but Natalie isn't a corporate person. She's a musician, she's an artist, she's a composer, and she was struggling to find herself amidst all of this. So I went over to her place and sat down, and using the personal development techniques, which has a lot to do with visioning, we examined things that she absolutely loved in her home that hadn't anything to do with her wardrobe, and we looked for themes and patterns and underlying concepts, and from that we created a unique style statement, a vision of who she truly was. Then we took this vision to the wardrobe and said, right, is this you or is this not you? Does this align with your style statement? Does this align with who you truly are? And through doing that, we did a massive decluttering. She was able to separate herself from other people's influences and find out who she truly was. And I got such a kick out of seeing the aha moment, the light that came on when she realized how beautiful and precious and special and unique she was. We ended up with 7 bags of clothing that we took to Goodwill, and it was as if she'd shed 10 pounds of weight. I also helped her dress for her body shape. She was wearing clothing that was very big and baggy. She's a shy person and she has such a tiny frame, and she was hiding under all of this. She was drowning in a lot of different ways. I saw her for coffee just a few weeks back, and she's glowing and she's so happy. She's making choices on her own. She's feeling so self-confident. She looks and feels great. I knew I was onto something, so I beta tested this with 12 other women using the same method that I developed based on what I call the Happy Collection, things that you really truly resonate with, and from that we create unique 2 or 3 word style statements, because no 2 women are the same. It worked time after time after time, and then I launched my business, and I have wonderful testimonials from amazing women who are so thrilled that they have found out how to dress in a way that feels authentic and that lights them up.
Well, and one of those testimonials is myself. Yeah. Just so that the audience knows, part of the reason why I know Erin is when I launched my business, I knew that this was an area of, let's call it a chance for improvement. And my first interaction with Erin, I said, I am not a clothes person. And she says, oh, darling, you will be. And I wish that you all could see me because I'm looking mighty fabulous today, and everything that's on me, I actually purchased for myself, but I feel that Erin would approve because I am being authentic to who I was. And so I wanted to share a little bit about what my experience was too with walking through that process. And what's unique about ours is that because we live so far apart, we were able to do it over video. So I still walked through the home with Erin. And then you asked me questions about each of the different pieces, and we looked at colors and things that I surrounded myself with. And I like to tell people this story because the style statement that we came up with was so kooky and funny to me. Like, it still makes me giggle, but the style statement that we came up with, because I surround myself with so many affirmations and words and like reminders, and my husband is from Mexico, so I actually surround myself with a lot of color. And we came up with the statement, I boldly affirm a galaxy of connections. And I don't know if you remember this, but you said, we're not talking galaxy leggings. Do you remember saying that? So we're not being literal here, but when we think about what I was trying to communicate with this wardrobe was that I wanted people to gravitate to me because I'm an outgoing person. I wanted to feel bold and confident in what I was wearing because before I did not know how to dress my shape, and I'm a curvy person, and I didn't know how to accentuate the curves that I wanted to bring attention to and how to minimize the areas that I might feel more self-conscious about. But the end result of working together was that I have this closet where really I could pick any piece out of my closet and feel really sexy and confident. And I know that I'm dressing appropriately for wherever I'm going. And also the investment in doing this process has also been like an accountability for me, because there are days where I want to just dial it in and throw my hair up in what I call a pony bump and just put on some like sweatpants or something. And then like, no, I walked through this whole process with Erin, and it's like, what would Erin do? So I would say from my experience as a client that it has really upped my game as a professional because I'm communicating something the minute I walk into the room. And that's why I really wanted to have you on the show and why I was talking about authenticity. It's not about, I think sometimes people can think clothing, like people who are very into fashion, it could lead towards superficial or be inauthentic. But in all actuality, the process that you walk through with women is very empowering. It's very loving and kind. And really it's about self-care and meeting women where they are at. I love that you work with women even going to thrift stores or, working within the budget that they have or with the pieces that they already have so that it's more accessible to a wide range of just everything from, putting pieces together at a thrift store to being a personal shopper and really developing something from scratch.
Riah, that is so lovely to say. It was a joy and an honor and a privilege to work with you. I understand how somebody hearing your style statement would think, what does that have to do with clothing? But it really, truly does. Yours was a wonderful style statement because it was a full sentence. Often women's style statements are just 2 or 3 words. Words are used as a talisman to conjure up a very clear image or vision in your mind so that when you choose clothing or when you get dressed, you hold that image in your mind and you say, is this in alignment with that? Is this the image I want to present? Is this who I want to be when I walk out the door? But it was such a joy. I mean, you obviously are absolutely gorgeous, so it wasn't hard at all, and you were wonderful at doing all your homework and taking all your action steps, and you just took off running once you had some basic information about color and body shape and ways to showcase how gorgeous you are.
Well, there was also another interaction that I think really highlights probably part of your ethos, and that is that because we were doing it remotely, my 9-year-old was recording the session so that I could show the clothing, and I was changing and I could hear the two of you talking, and she's so funny, but she was like, yeah, I agree with you. That top was not good for mom. And then you said to her, there's no bad bodies. There's only bad clothing that doesn't fit the person properly. And I thought, what an amazing message to say to a 9-year-old who's about to go through adolescence and experience all those changes, that, really we carry through as a woman all the way through our lives and often have these insecurities. But to say like, no, this is not about our body being out of alignment with what the world says. It's really about how we package ourselves in a way that is loving and kind and highlights what is good about our body instead of hiding behind clothing. So thank you for that statement to my daughter, because I love that. But I would also love to hear, how are you empowering other communities and other people specifically? I know that you work quite a bit with the trans community, with trans women. Can you tell me a little bit more about that?
I love working with women. I have a very women-centric business, and if you identify as being a woman, I am overjoyed to have the privilege to help you connect with your inner goddess. I have the honor of working with some women who are new to being women, and that has been a lot about teaching how to dress for body shape, how to dress to look in the way that they want to present themselves as a woman, which is usually a very feminine appearance. Often it's also been about finding appropriate clothing. If you are trans, often you have to get things made to order, so it's been about finding tailors or getting things altered. A lot of trans women that I have known will often only shop online because, they don't always have the best experience of being in a department store. So I will offer to accompany them and find clothes and source clothes with them and stay with them in the dressing room if that's what they would like. It's also about being, for example, it can be hard to find shoes in the right size or tops that are broad enough fit with shoulders. It's also about coming across with helping these women identify women that they find attractive, that they find beautiful, that they would like to emulate, and also finding their own unique style statement, because they have things they love. They have things that are precious to them. They have themes and patterns, and realizing that they can be the woman who they truly are inside, not necessarily who society thinks that they should look like.
Erin, that's so beautiful. I love that you do that. That's definitely a community that is near and dear to my heart that I think can be marginalized, and really that support is so important. I wanted to get your advice really on what you think. How does image translate in the business world to client expectations? Do you think that image or the way you present yourself in your clothing and accessorizing and all those things, if you think that that affects expectation or trust or, just the overall interaction between you as a business person or all of us as business people and our prospects or our clients?
Oh, absolutely. I'll often advise clients, I'll help them go through their marketing materials or go through their YouTube videos, and we'll talk about clothes that detract from the message they're trying to create, clothes that will emphasize the message they're trying to create, ways that they can bring the attention up to their face, to their hands when they're on stage as a corporate speaker, how to be able to be seen from a distance so that you'll be memorable, what to do if you're doing a close-up video or you're doing headshots. It used to be said that you had 7 seconds to make a first impression on somebody. That's just not true anymore. You have perhaps 1 second. People know that they may not be able to state it, but they know if you're ill at ease at your clothing. They know if you're having to adjust your clothing, if you're fiddling with it, if you're not feeling comfortable in it. They pick up so many visual clues about how you feel about yourself from the way that you're dressed, whether you're confident, whether you're polished, whether you're professional. They also know if you're at ease in your own skin and if you're feeling great, if you're feeling confident. If you have at all any unease about what you're wearing, which is very common if you're a woman, we could go into hours as to, why that's the reason, then it can be very hard to focus on the message that you're trying to present. It's about creating an environment in which your message will get through without any static or any distractions, and will convey that that message is authentic and is true to yourself. People really respond to integrity. They don't tend to buy your products. They tend to buy your energy. So making sure everything is in alignment is incredibly important.
I love that. And I feel that. I definitely feel more confident knowing that what I'm wearing represents who I am. And it has emboldened me to try new things because I know that it represents who I am. Like, for example, I found a dress that I loved that's Calvin Klein, and I bought it in 3 different colors. Like really bright colors, because I know that they will look good on me, and it felt really good on me. So, and those are things that I can directly accredit to the work that we did together. So I think what you're doing is God's work or universe or source or whatever people want to call it. But I know that it's something that I wish that they would teach to a wider audience. I want to replicate you and have this be taught to more people because I think it is extremely empowering to women to just feel good in their own skin. And I think that translates to better business, better presentation for sure.
When you're not worrying about how you look, what you're wearing, whether you're comfortable, whether you're dressed suitably, it frees up so much more energy to change the world.
Oh, for sure. For sure. I mean, yeah, I think that is absolutely the case. You know, it's important to be able to focus on what it is that you are set out to do in this planet. And if you're not feeling comfortable with just what's on your body, you can't focus on that. Well, Erin, I want to ask you and this can be personal or it can be business related, but what would you say is the best advice you've ever been given?
Well, there are two sides to that coin. The best advice I was ever given has nothing to do with business and everything to do with life. A very wise woman I knew once said to me, Erin, there is enough time, money, and love. And that just rocked my world. And if I ever find myself getting a little anxious or a little bit stressed, I just repeat that to myself. It's my mantra. And I also use it with my clients. It's one of the ways I cherish my clients. If they're not quite ready to make another step forward, or they need a little time to think about something, or they need to circle back, I always remind them there is enough time, money, and love. I'm not going anywhere, and I am here as a resource for when they're ready for me. The advice that I give to my clients besides that is something that I do myself. Before I leave the house to go and meet a client to present myself as the happy wardrobe, I will look at what I'm wearing in a full-length mirror. I really recommend a full-length mirror for anybody. And I will say to myself, hello, I'm Erin from the Happy Wardrobe. And I know whether that is what I'm wearing actually accurately represents who I am and what I want to present. So introduce yourself to your full-length mirror before you leave the house and see if that resonates with the message that you want to present to the world.
I need to get a full-length mirror after that one. That's for sure. I have one that's like 3/4 length, but now I need to just embrace the whole thing. So I will be doing that. What advice would you give our audience when they really want to show up in a professional way? They're not sure what that might look like. What advice might you give them when they're looking at the clothes that they have in their closet and they're thinking, I'm ready to start purging some of these things? Is there something like a pre-step that they can do to help start evaluating what they're wearing and what they have in their closet?
Well, they could obviously talk to me. I offer a free discovery call and there's no obligation. It's just clarification. I just love talking to women, and you could call me and talk through what's actually going on with your closet right now. And I'll give you a couple of action steps that'll get you started whether you work with me or not. If you're not able to get hold of me in lieu of that, I would say if you're in a business, think about 3 words that define your brand as a business, and then look at the clothes in your wardrobe and see if they live up to that brand. Or have a very strong vision. Think about who you want to be, the woman that you want to be, and look at your clothes and go, will those clothes get me closer to that woman, or will they take me further away from her?
I love that. And I cannot encourage people enough to take Erin up on that free discovery call. She is the world's best note taker, really the world's best note taker. And the advice is invaluable. And even if you don't decide to work with her because you're crazy, then you should take her up on the discovery call, because it is an education that I think is really important, and it will help you. Even in 30 minutes, you can get advice that will help you in action steps that you can take right away. And we're definitely going to be linking Erin's social media, the contact page from her website, all of the ways that you can get a hold of Erin. I also know that if you're in the Seattle area, Erin's very involved with the Riveter. So if you're part of the Riveter, you can hit her up on the internal communication system there. But please, people, reach out to Erin, because this is something that is so unique, and it was so near and dear to my heart in terms of building my confidence level and helping me show up as the authentic self that I am, and just very empowering. So Erin, thank you so much for being part of our show today, and thank you for what you do with women and helping them love their body and show up in a way that is, where we said the signature look is you. That's really what it's all about, is just embracing you wherever you are at. You don't need to lose any more weight or be any different way. Just loving every piece of who you are and then, dressing that appropriately. So thank you so much for what you do.
You're welcome. I want every woman to be empowered to have the wardrobe of her dreams, but also to step confidently towards the direction of the life that she wants. And clothing is a great first step with that.
Well, we're going to close for now, but I thank you, Erin, so much for your time. And thank you to the Client Experience Podcast audience. Please get a hold of Erin. Like I said, we'll include all of her contact information in the show notes, and take her up on that free discovery call, because you never know what your next outfit or your next confidence level will do.
May I just say one more thing? A really easy way to get hold of me is to go to thehappywardrobe.com. On every page, you'll find a link to book a free discovery call. And you can also just email me, Erin@thehappywardrobe.com. The call does involve comprehensive notes, which I provide at no charge. Sometimes just talking aloud about what's going on with your wardrobe will help clarify things for you. And thank you so much for this experience.
Oh, no, thank you for being our guest, and we just appreciate you. And we look forward to many, many other clothing adventures and just women empowerment adventures together.
Bye, beautiful.
Okay, bye for now.